I'm Kathleen Carroll, and I'm a former attorney and whistleblower from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing.
What is happening in public education in California?
It's being purposely defunded. The politicians have aligned themselves with corporate interests instead of the majority of the public, which is what they're supposed to be representing, and they're purposely defunding it by siphoning off our tax dollars to online education companies, for-profit colleges, charter schools, for-profit management companies, and the like. And the lobbyists and the nonprofits are all funneling our public money into these things.
And isn't it
defunding what we need here, which is funding for K-12 education, community colleges, CSU system, and the UC system? It's purposely being dismantled.
And illegal for a government representative who has a business relationship to vote on money going to his own businesses?
Yes, that's an illegal conflict of interest. And there's financial conflicts. There's also ethical conflicts involved. And the little research that I did, I've actually found active lobbyists who are on school boards, elected officials on school boards, when they represent interests such as K-12 Inc. and Rocket Ship Learning and other private online education companies that are being wheeled and dealed in a $1 trillion industry in Wall Street.
And the effect of this privatization of education has been that a number of public schools are being closed in Sacramento while other schools are being opened. What's going on with that?
Oh, it's not just Sacramento. Sometimes I do feel we're ground zero here, but it's happening all over the state. The entire state is being hurt. The entire country is being hurt. Schools all over the country are being closed in favor of online education company interests such as digital textbooks, computer online learning software for English language learners, and the like. They are targeting low-income minorities. They're targeting special needs students and people who normally are most vulnerable population, who either don't know their rights, or even if they find out what their rights are, they can't communicate very well, and they have very little ability to speak up on behalf of themselves.
So these foundations, the Gates Foundation, the Broad Foundation, they say they want to help education. You don't believe them?
No, I do not at all. I believe they want to help themselves make huge profits, and huge profits for their cronies.
Well, recently we heard about Apple and other companies. They want to help education with computers in the classroom. What do you think about that?
I think they're very good spin doctors. They don't want to help education. They want to help line their own pockets. This is increasing the gap between the have and have-nots. And public education is just being thrown into this free market principle ideology that really is destructive for this country. It's absolutely destructive.
You get calls from teachers. What is the situation with teachers in California today?
It's unbelievable. It's horrific. There are teachers calling me that if they dare speak up, they are humiliated, vilified, intimidated, threatened with losing their jobs. They are often put on administrative leave. They are subjected to false allegations. Some of them have told me that they get isolated in little cubicles for 8 hours of a day, no cell phone communication. It's very reminiscent of CIA interrogation procedures that I've seen, and read about. It's horrific what's happening to teachers who really want to speak up on the behalf of vulnerable education population, and that's the low-income minority students, that's the special needs students, that's a lot of students who whose parents may not be in a position to speak up for them.
And there have been the recent exposés of scandals in Los Angeles where students have been abused. And who's doing the oversight to protect our students in California?
Unfortunately, this privatization agenda, and the politicians are going along with it, are strategically placing in superintendents who have zero accountability. Superintendents do not have to be licensed in the state. So in LA Unified, there have been a number of instances of allegations of child molestation where teachers have slipped through the cracks because basically they're just not communicating. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but it's very, very fishy. One individual literally was passed on as a substitute teacher, so there was you can't say there was any tenure issues or union was blocking getting rid of someone. That's the rhetoric that they're spewing out, that it's really hard to get rid of a difficult teacher. I have seen firsthand, no, it is not. They have tons of money. If they want to get rid of someone, they'll get rid of someone. But there's this one individual was a substitute, and he just went from school to school to school with very serious sexual allegations against him involving children.
Well, you're a whistleblower. You were fired for whistleblowing at the Commission on Teacher Credentials. You appealed to the state legislature. You appealed to the government officials. It's Governor Brown's office. He's in charge of the Commission on Teacher Credentials. What's going on at this commission?
Unfortunately, I'd like to say that everything's great and they're making changes for the better, but I've gone on their website. They are absolutely violating statutes. They're violating laws. It's certainly a longer discussion, but there's still employees there that are involved in either nepotism. There's still a huge fear of retaliation. An HR manager actually testified on my behalf. She's no longer there. And I barely even know that woman, let alone the individuals that did come on my behalf who actually worked with me.
So are you saying they're terrorizing the employees of the Commission on Teacher Credentials?
Yes, and a very severe harassment, isolation, putting them on different pages, giving them work, taking it away, stressing them out. It's absolutely abusive.
Well, what is the unions, the SEIU, doing about this? Their members are being harassed and vilified. I mean, what has the union done about this?
Absolutely nothing. It is unfortunate that I have to say this. There are very good people in the union members and collective bargainings. I'm absolutely 100% for. Workers should have a right to collectively bargain and work to better their working conditions. Unfortunately, union officials have become incredibly corrupt. They are on the take, they are with management, and they are not protecting the rights of members.
Now, this is very important. Yvonne Walker is president of the SEIU 1000, which represents a lot of state employees, including employees at the Commission on Teacher Credentials, also the state pension boards, the teacher pension boards. How are these workers going to be able to speak up and really make sure that there isn't systemic corruption or there aren't illegal actions done if they aren't protected?
I see the only solution is that they decertify and form another union. This union is not protecting the rights of their members, and they are, like I said again, I want to be very cautious about what I say. There are very good people, but there are officials, higher ups, that are basically, they're the ones with the agenda and the power, not the lower people, and they're just not representing their members. They're collecting money and they're going along with whatever agenda that the politicians and the corporations and managers, want. They're not protecting workers' rights.
Now,
I've talked to so many SEIU members, it's not even funny. I mean, a gentleman who blew the whistle on CalSTRS for pension spiking. These were all superintendents who are tapping into the teacher retirement fund, and they're starting out with $100,000 salary, spiking it up to $300,000. He told me horrific stories, and that's why it's being defunded. Not because of rank and file teachers. It's being defunded because of higher ups are abusing the system. And he was fired, and he did not get any justice. He did not even get any help from his union, which is SEIU 1000.
And today, Darrell Steinberg, the Senate leader, John Perez, the Assembly leader, Gavin Newsom spoke to the students.
They already spoke?
Well, they may be speaking later too, but who do these people represent, and are they really fighting for education, the defense of public education?
Well, I don't want to speak for all of them. Darrell Steinberg is my senator, and I did vote for him. Unfortunately, I am seeing them align themselves with corporate interests. Those are the people that are putting money in their campaign coffers. Those are the ones that matter to them, and the rest of us, I mean, basically they're saying go to hell. We don't care. Once we get elected, we do whatever we want, and we don't care about you. We don't care about your rights. They're basically saying go to hell. I mean, their action speaks louder than their words. They say everything we want to hear when they're on their campaign trail, but once they're in the office, that's it. They do whatever they want, and we've seen that time and time again. I mean, we're seeing right now pink slips, school closings, massive amounts of schools closing, and yet charter schools continue to flourish. Online education companies are getting our tax dollars, for-profit colleges getting our tax dollars. I mean, we absolutely need to demand that this stops, and something like
so you're for stopping all charter schools in California nationally?
Absolutely, absolutely. Enough is enough. Absolutely.
And you've had some discussion with Diane Ravitch. Has she come to the same conclusion?
Yes, I mean, she wrote a book, The Death and the Life of the American School System. She's been on speaking engagements all over the country. She was here in Sacramento not too long ago, last month. She is in the best position. I mean, she was the Assistant Secretary of Education under both Clinton and Bush, and she at one time was for charter schools and the idea of it, but then when she sees the policies go into practice, she came to a different conclusion, because they're actually hurting public education. They're segregating populations of low-income, low-performing students from the rest, and they're really competing with funds for the traditional public schools, and so they essentially defund our public education system.
Well, if this is the case, why is the California Teachers Association supporting charter schools?
Well, from what I understand, the Gates Foundation and maybe other foundations has given money to both NEA and AFT to basically say neutral on the issue of charter schools, neutral on the issues of tenure and merit pay. And as far as I can see, again, actions speak louder than words. They have stayed neutral. They're not out fighting for their members. This literally, some of these laws are, I would challenge them on constitutional grounds.
What kind of grounds?
Equal protection, for one. I mean, there's an equal protection issue. Here in the state of California, there's supposed to be equitable funding. We know we don't have it, but charter schools has made it increasingly more inequitable, not more equitable. I mean, there's just no doubt about that.
Well, the ideology of this race to the top, the lottery of President Obama, of Arnie Duncan, the Secretary of Education, of George Miller, who supports this, isn't this the kind of ideology of maybe some will get it and some won't?
Absolutely. That's exactly what's happening. I mean, who's getting it? I mean, it's not traditional public schools. Otherwise, they wouldn't be closing today. We wouldn't be here meeting today if education was equitably funded and there was access for all. We wouldn't be here today. You know, we'd all be about our businesses. I may still have had my job. We wouldn't be here. But we're here because they are absolutely creating massacre in our public education system. And we have to stand up and we have to stop it. I don't think protest is going to do it. I think we need to basically get angry enough and call for recalls. I mean, it's just enough is enough.
Well, if
our lives are being ruined, reputations are being ruined, lives are being ruined, jobs are being lost, and they can no longer, spin doctor us anymore.
Well, in the case of some whistleblowers, other whistleblowers like Margarita Perino, who spoke at this conference, she said that she was trying to protect these bilingual students and special education students, and instead of them being protected, she was retaliated against. What does that mean as far as oversight and protection of young people in California?
It says that it's a very scary situation that's happening today. Those teachers, or in her case, she's a school counselor, that are brave enough to actually speak up are going to be retaliated in the most severe and harsh fashion. And they are going to be, just economically bled to death if they dare to speak up. She dared to speak up. I did not know her story before I met her at Laney, and it's very, very sad that it's come to this. It's very, very sad.
Now, these politicians, Governor Brown, the legislature, they're supposed to be responsible. He's personally responsible for the Commission on Teacher Credentials. You spoke up there, you testified, other people testified that there was serious systemic problems, conflicts of interest, nepotism. Yet, it seems like no action has been taken. The Attorney General, Kamala Harris, is not investigating. And the governor seems to be MIA on this whole issue. I mean, is he not want to prosecute? Does he not want to investigate? I mean, what is going on?
Again, actions speak louder than words. He did not speak out when the audit was released. Within the audit, there's some very serious issues that are basically, I think what's happening at LAUSD is going to come back to bite them. There's a lot of things happening right now, and I think they're going to rue the day that they decided to be silent on this. I have given numerous opportunities to speak with them. They have literally shut me out, but I'm not a billionaire with money. I'm not a crony, so they don't want to talk to me, I guess. But I did see firsthand, and they didn't. He sits here in his office. He takes his, cronies out to parties all the time, and then goes back to Oakland whenever he wants. And that's not a governor I want.
Now, his wife, Ann Gust, used to work for the Gap Corporation. The Gap Corporation apparently is the headquarters of the KIP. Do you think that that's questionable?
Yes. There's a lot of things that are questionable. I mean, that's one example of many where basically when we have elected officials in a democracy, I mean, we've never had a pure democracy, but in a democracy that we all hope to achieve, we hope that our elected officials have a neutral voice and they're not financially biased, and will basically set forth policies that achieve benefits for the public at large. He is not doing that. He is not doing that, and I think it's time to say goodbye to him, basically. That's how I truly feel about it.
So you're basically saying the children of California are in great danger, that this situation is really a dire danger and threat to the children of California?
Absolutely. I think I have heard numerous stories of teachers that are being hauled out of classrooms who are trying to speak up. That basically deprives them of quality educators. When the Commission on Teacher Credentialing was approving all these quickie teacher preparation programs, that doesn't benefit teachers. Quickie preparation programs, unlike the CSU programs or the UC programs, do not offer a quality long-term education preparation program in which they learn about classroom discipline, management issues, all the kinds of issues. I mean, they're basically licensing mills, and they're just basically there for profit. So the situation is incredibly serious, but we must stand to protect public education. They want us to say it's horrible, and they want to say, well, it's so horrible, let's just scratch it and start over with vouchers, charter schools, online education entities, because then you don't have to have teachers at all and no unions there. That's what they want to do. It's very reminiscent of the Milton Friedmanite ideology, free market principles all the way, expand capitalism to the end, deregulate, no oversight.